Okay, gentlemen, we're going to take a look at some sine charts. And what we want to do here is take this function, which is in factored form, and if we were to FOIL this out and put it all together, it would be an x to the third times an x squared times an x, so it would be something like an x to the sixth. It's in factored form for us, so the first thing I'm going to do is take our 3 roots. Here they are. Make sure they're in number line order, which they are, and label them on a number line. It's nice to be able to see what this function will do in relation to passing through the roots and being above or below the x-axis. We want to pick test values. So the first value I'm going to look at is what would be a number that falls in that yellow range, less than -2. And let's say I pick -3. I'm going to plug the -3 into this factor, then this factor, and this factor, and see if I come out positive or negative. So if I plug in a -3 to the first part, I would get a negative cubed, that's in the first factor. -3 in the second factor, that would be a negative squared. Negative in the third factor, that x minus 5 would be a negative. Negative cubed is negative, negative squared is positive. And if I multiply those 3, I get a total is a positive. These two give me a negative times a negative give me a positive. So I'm just checking to see what will my function be above or below the x-axis, essentially positive or negative intervals. Next, I choose this area right here in orange. I'm going to pick a number that's in that range. I like to pick 0 whenever I can. It makes my computation a little bit easier with the 0. So here is my positive cubed, negative squared, negative. Plugging in a 0 to this factor, give me a positive result. Plugging in a 0 to this factor gives me a negative result and gives me a negative result. Positive cubed is a positive, negative squared is a positive, and here's my last negative, and that will give me positive times negative, a negative. Next, I do this area. There's one number I could probably pick, and that would be my 4, between 3 and 5. I could pick a decimal, but I like to pick an easy or simple number. It makes my sine chart plugging in a little bit more straightforward. I get a positive cubed. Now I get a positive squared, and then I get a negative. Plugging in a 4, positive, plugging in a 4, positive, plugging in a 4, negative. A positive cubed is a positive squared is a positive. Here's my negative, I get the same thing, a negative overall. And lastly, I'll pick something like f of 10. I can really pick any number. I pick a very large number. It makes it easier for me. Plugging it into my first factor is a positive cubed. Plugging it into my second factor is a positive squared, and plugging it into my third factor is still a positive. All 3 positives give me a positive. Okay. Now, how do we read this? I have positive, meaning before I hit the -2, I am above the x-axis, heading towards my root. Then I pass the root and I become negative. So I go through the root and I'm negative. I must head back towards the 3. Here I am. I stay negative, so I bounce underneath. I do not go through, I stay negative. I head towards my 5. What happens after the 5? I become positive, so I must be above. And there's what my function looks like. I'm working left to right. I must pass through my roots. I must touch my roots. I have to touch them all. Either go through or bounce off. Right? And we see a pattern here with my double root, which I can see right here. This is a double root, and I get a bounce. Double root and bounce. So that which we saw with quadratic seems to make sense. I got to bounce at a double root. Okay, good luck. Sine charts.